If you're busy all day, but your business isn't growing, you don't have a workload problem. You actually have a priority problem. That's the reality of it. You see, most owners, they think that being busy equals being productive. I see it all the time. Owners they have packed calendars or they're always on the phone. They're hanging up with one person to take the next call, all while their emails are coming in and DMs are coming in, and they're just all day running around like a chicken with their head cut off. They're busy, 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 but they're going nowhere. They're running in a circle. It's like being in a race car with the wheels lifted off the ground. You can press that gas pedal down as much as you want. You have the fastest car. But with those wheels off the ground, you're not going anywhere. Because when you're doing all that with a packed calendar, always on the phone, responding to emails, you're busy, but nothing's moving forward. Because the reality is, activity does not equal progress. And one of the biggest problems is that business owners, most business owners, they wake up in reaction mode. So they spend their days reacting instead of actually leading. They're waiting to get notifications on their phone before they know what to do next. So their notifications are controlling them. They're waiting for their customers to call in. So now their customers are controlling them. They're waiting for staff to come to them with problems. They're waiting for emergencies to arise. And they're controlled by their staff in these emergencies. Because you're spending your whole life reacting instead of actually leading. You don't run your business runs you. What if instead of waking up and checking your phone right away and looking for those notifications, waiting for them to come in, instead of waking up and checking your phone, you gave yourself some peaceful time first, some focus time. Spend some time writing down your goals. Spend some time reflecting on your day before, reflecting on the future that you're building, planning it out. See, when you start planning this stuff out, instead of waiting for your business to run you, waiting for all these notifications to go off and these problems to arise, you can actually lead the ship. You can choose the path of this ship and run your business instead of the other way around. The hard truth that you may need to face, you probably need to face, is that if your day starts with reacting, you have already lost control. You end up living in a day full of fake productivity where you're organizing instead of executing. I've done that. You go into your email box, you create all these different email folders for these different things. It's actually easier just to search than it is to go into this folder, into that folder, into this subfolder. Just search when you need to. Or you're planning endlessly without any actual execution. You build all these plans. Okay, this is what I'm going to do for this, 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 and this. Then once you build those plans, go on to building the next plan. You don't actually execute anything. Or maybe you're that guy that's always tweaking your logo, always tweaking your website because you think your logo isn't quite right. That's the reason you're not getting the next level of clients. Or maybe your website's underperforming. So you need to tweak it just a little bit. But only you can tweak it the way it needs to be done. Nobody else can do it, right? Or maybe you're busy having meetings about meetings that were about meetings that you had about meetings. Yeah, endless meetings. Create an agenda. Stick to the agenda. There's your meeting. I remember sitting in meetings myself, and I'm like sitting in a meeting looking for a pencil so I can poke my eyes out because the meeting's so boring. Have an agenda. Have a structure to the meeting. When you have a structure to the meeting, you have a flow, and you have rules. You have a start time, a stop time. That's it. You don't need to have meetings about that meeting, about the meeting before for that meeting. Or what about creating spreadsheets that nobody uses? Spreadsheets are great in your business. If you want to build a business that you could sell tomorrow, but you never sell because it operates without you and you just enjoy it, spreadsheets are important for part of your KPIs. But if nobody's using them, they're wasteless. They're useless. Why spend the time creating that spreadsheet that nobody's going to use? Or maybe you're spending your day. I just got to do a little bit more research. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You do it all the time. You're constantly doing research. Oh, and then you grab your phone, so you stop from researching. Now I'm going to do some learning. So I'm going to start scrolling social to learn. And you spend an hour watching funny cat videos, watching car chase videos, watching comedians, watching useless stuff that actually isn't moving the needle forward for you. See, some people, they spend all day preparing to succeed instead of actually succeeding. Is that you? You know, you have that fake productivity that feels good. Feels good. You're doing stuff, right? You're doing this busy stuff. It's fake productivity and it feels good because it lets you avoid the risk while pretending to work instead of actually doing the work. And that bleeds into more problems because now you're going to end up tolerating bad employees because you're avoiding the decisions you need to make. Because you're not being the leader you need to be, you've now set weak boundaries. So when that flood happens, the walls are going to crumble and you're going to drown. Maybe you're delaying having conversations that you know you need to have. Some of them aren't hard conversations, but they're difficult. Maybe, and I'm sure you can relate, you got that one employee. You know that one. They look good on paper, they look busy, but they're toxic. They're actually tearing the company down. But they do part of their job really well, and you're afraid that if you let go of them, you have to replace them, and who are you going to get to replace them, and then who's going to fill their shoes? And you're going around this big circle, justifying why you're not firing somebody that's destroying your company. And that leans into and leads you towards now you're not going to delegate stuff because you don't have the courage to do it. Because you're afraid that if you do delegate it, you're going to have another employee that you need to fire that you can't fire or don't want to fire. Maybe you're not going to delegate because you're afraid that you haven't explained it in a way good enough for somebody else to understand and complete the task properly. And then what happens next is you get afraid to raise your prices. I remember I was hosting one of my workshops and I had a bookkeeper in the room. I was talking about raising prices. And I asked the question, how many people in here have raised their prices beyond inflation? See, here's the reality. Your overhead is constantly going up. As you grow, it goes up. But if you don't bring your prices up, at least with that, you're taking a pay cut. Now, here's the other thing. As your prices, as the inflation goes up, as your overhead goes up, and maybe you just match your supplier's price increases. Let me ask you, would you work at a place for 10, 5 years where you never saw a raise? So why are you building a business like that? And then you don't want to change your structure. It's another decision you're avoiding. Because changing the structure means changing things in the business. And you don't have time for that because you're too busy reacting to everything else. You're not actually overwhelmed from work. If all those points hit, you're overwhelmed from avoidance. Have you heard the saying, if you take a penny and double it every day for 30 days, you have like $10 million, $5 million, something like that? When you avoid hard decisions, the delay compounds pressure. For every hard decision that you delay, the pressure compounds. And it builds and builds. But then what happens when you start making those hard decisions and taking that action is you feel this euphoric sense of weightlessness. You feel this massive weight come off your shoulders. And then what a lot of people do is like, okay, I just got to hold here. I can't do another hard decision yet because that one, I just got by that one. But the best time to make a hard decision is right after you make a hard decision. The best time to make your next sale is after your first sale. You've got to keep going. You got to keep moving. And this all ties into the start of it, ties into not having any sort of intentional structure. And this doesn't matter if it's your business or your personal life. It goes hand in hand with both. You start off by waking up without any sort of plan whatsoever. Not just for your day, but for your life. You kind of have a vague idea of where you want to go and what you're going to do, but you don't have an actual plan. So what happens when you don't have that plan is instead of moving through your day with grace, poise, presence, and purpose, you're drifting into the day and through it. You're not actually moving forward to where you want to go. And you're not doing any sort of KPI tracking whatsoever to see if you're reaching your goals. You're not measuring your progress. And a lot of times people don't measure their progress because they don't want to see what they're not doing. They don't want to face the facts that they already know and they're lying to themselves about. You don't protect any sort of thinking time. You fill any quiet time with a distraction. You pick up your phone and start doom scrolling. What if you just sat in peace and had some time to think? Pick up a pen and a piece of paper. And then you have no priorities because everything is important. Everything feels urgent. So you're not prioritizing anything and your day is just full of chaos. If your day isn't intentional, your life starts drifting. And here's a truth that you may need to hear. High-level leaders, and look, you may say, Doug, I'm not a high-level leader. I don't aspire to be a high-level leader, but you need to be a high-level leader in your family and in your own life. You're the high-level leader of yourself. High-level leaders, they decide priorities. They decide, they set their priorities, and they work on them. They decide what matters. They decide what gets ignored. And they don't ignore the hard decisions. They face them head on because they know that that's going to make a massive improvement in the direction they're going in. I've been there. All this stuff, I've lived through it. Thinking that I'm just going to slave harder on a roof for 16 hours a day. Coming home exhausted. Literally coming in, showering, and going to bed. Having dinner on the road instead of with my family. Because I just need to grind for one more year. And like many people, I thought that hard work alone would solve it. And if you think that hard work alone is the answer to your prayers, the answer to everything, if hard work alone would solve the world's problems, would make you rich, I'm here to tell you, I was that person. I thought that too. Didn't make me rich. When I actually slowed down, I was a little more focused. That's when I became rich in my life. And rich isn't just about your bank account. It's about the joy, the fulfillment, the ease in your life. Instead of being busy nonstop, you have time to breathe. Instead of busting your butt for these long days and not getting anywhere, just spinning your wheels and not making progress. slow down, have intention in your day, and you'll really make some progress. I want to give you some tips to help you with what I've been talking about, what we've been talking about here today. See, to win, winners quit the distractions. That could be picking up your phone and scrolling social media. That could be redesigning your website or your logo. Winners quit distractions so they can stay focused. Winners quit the fake productivity of being bombarded with phone calls, emails, and DMs all day long. You're just waiting for them to come in. Winners quit the pointless tasks that aren't moving the needle forward. And if you want to know if it's a pointless task or not, ask yourself, if you're a business owner, does this help me move my business forward? Does this help move my life forward? What purpose does this serve in my grand vision? Winners quit avoidance. They quit avoiding the hard conversations. They quit avoiding looking at the real numbers. They quit avoiding measuring things that they know they need to measure. And winners quit reacting all day. Isn't it exhausting when you react all day? Spend your entire day in reaction mode? But then think about this. When you go on a vacation, say you go on a trip and you plan out an itinerary for the entire day. You feel exhausted but fulfilled at the end of the day when it's a busy day. Because it was planned. Yes, you can't plan it down to the T, but you can plan most of it. Now, some people will argue with me and say, Doug, but my business is a reactionary business, or I have a reactionary role. That's great. That's fine. If you're the business owner, you don't have to spend your days in reaction mode. That's what you have employees for. You're the visionary. You need to build the business. You need to be planning it. If you're in a role that requires you to be in reactive mode while working, like a customer service rep, you can still plan that out because you're not going to be answering the phone 24/7. What about before work, after work, breaks? What about when the phone's not ringing? No matter what your excuse is, and that's exactly what that is. That is an excuse. No matter what that excuse is, you can work past it and not react all day long. See, winners, they don't quit when things get hard. They quit what no longer moves them forward. I want to give you an actual framework. At the end of the day, ask yourself, it's kind of similar to what I do. Ask yourself, what actually moved me forward today? What did I do to move forward today? Think about that. Write it down. Journal it. What did I avoid today? That's a tough one. Some of y'all aren't ready to answer that one. What must happen tomorrow? I don't know how many times I sit down with a client and I say, what must happen today? I want you every morning to write down what must happen today. Man, the avoidance that comes from that is crazy. But then we work through it. And the difference in life and business, the aha moments that come from that, the clarity is absolutely amazing. See, that's similar to my WIT framework that I have, my acronym WIT, W-I-T, wisdom. Every day, at the end of the day, I ask myself these questions, typically internally. Wisdom. Did I look for ways to gain and share wisdom today that was helpful? That is helpful towards my goal, my vision, to where I'm going towards. The I is for intention. Did I live my day intentionally? Or did I drift through the day? Now, I'm not saying that you need to have your life planned 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We need rest days too. Sometimes that rest is intentional. Sitting there scrolling your phone, doom scrolling, is not intentional. Actually, it is. It's intentional avoidance. Back to the acronym. I is for intention. Did I live my day intentionally? Plain and simple. The T, thankfulness. Did I live my day with a thankful mindset? Did I look to give thankfully to others? Because when you're thankful or have a uh, mindset of gratitude, when you're truly thankful, you can't be depressed and thankful at the same time. Now, there's caveats to that. If we're not going to get into those, but it's life changing because then when you look at it, you get up in the morning and say, okay, at the end of this today, I've got to answer these questions. Did I look to gain or share wisdom? Did I live my day with intention? Was I thankful throughout my day? You're going to be looking for these moments throughout the day. And that alone will be a massive change in your life. And here's the reality. You don't need more time. You just need fewer distractions, better priorities, and the courage to stop pretending that busy means productive. You're not stuck because you're overwhelmed. You're stuck because you keep focusing on the wrong things.